I didn't think we'd have to tread on this so early, but looks like here we are already. New articles come out, it looks like, where our Prime Minister and whoever other ministers have commented on their interest in putting a new law in place, some new legislation. Let's take a look together. Let's clink our heads together and see what we can make of this. So, they're saying they want a national freeze on the purchase, sale, importation, and transfer of handguns in Canada. They say they want to start buying back thousands of banned assault-style weapons before the end of the year. Just remember that you can't buy something back if you never owned it in the first place. But while it falls short on a full ban of handguns, darn, we can't get them all, it would effectively limit their number in Canada. We're capping the market, he says. As we've seen gun violence continue to rise, it's our duty to keep taking action. Doesn't mean taking the correct action. There's a little bit of a blank there, a little bit left out. So, Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino. Let's see, Bill C-21, it just keeps coming back, hey? So it represents a milestone amidst a long and difficult battle which takes place on our streets every single day. Sounds like gang violence if it's on the streets every single day. It's claimed too many lives, leaving empty chairs on the dinner table and empty desks in our classrooms. Let's see. Some new proposals made during the campaign. Okay. This includes taking away firearms licenses from those involved in domestic violence or criminal harassment, increasing criminal penalties for smuggling and trafficking, and a red flag law which requires people deemed a threat to themselves or others to turn in their firearms to law enforcement. Now, anybody of you who has a PAL, and I expect most of you guys do if you are interested in anything I put out, we already know that that's a thing. You already lose your license. It could be surrendered at any time. That's one of the agreements that we have for getting our license in the first place is it could be revoked at any time. It's just like a driver's license, right? So we jump through all these hoops, show that we're safe. If you show you're not safe, then off goes the license, right? From an outside perspective, that looks good. But apparently the people who are in charge of that, okay, the government in charge of the Firearms Act, right? They don't know the act. They don't know the laws, it seems. We already have that red flag. You do something dumb, your pal's gone. Everybody knows that, but them. I do like the idea of increasing criminal penalties for smuggling and trafficking. I'd say that's something that everybody can agree on, that nobody's going to say, well, those guys smuggling have it too hard. You should go a little bit lighter on them. Because as you know, and as I know, that's going to be the majority of the firearms that has this battle on the streets that they're saying. Let's look down a little more. Look at all these firearms that we can't have already. You think this guy? You think this guy that we're not allowed to have in Canada already is something that they're putting a stop to? Let's see. In our discussions with law enforcement advocates and experts, it became apparent that we needed a different solution. A different solution than targeting law-abiding firearms owners. Except they went for the same thing. So we decided to take a new route, something that would tackle this issue at a national level. So they're going a new route for going after the same wrong people. A limited number of people would be exempt from the handgun restrictions, including elite sport shooters and those with an authorization to carry. Yeah? So, it's a national concern, all right? But there's exceptions. These elite sport shooters, these are an exception, okay? Like, we're worried about public safety, but we'll make exceptions for some people. It would require magazines for long guns to be changed so they can't carry more than 5 rounds. Well, that's already a thing for semi-automatic centerfire rifles, is it not? And bolt action has always been uncapped because it specifies semi-automatic. And the sales of large capacity magazines would be banned. Well, that's already a thing, isn't it? Would also increase the maximum penalty for offenses under the law, such as illegally owning, acquiring, or manufacturing a firearm, from 10 years imprisonment to 14. Whoa! I wonder if the same people are interested in this. I think that mandatory minimums and anything of the kind like that is not a deterrent. Increasing the threat of law enforcement is not a deterrent on crime. Do you think they have the same opinion? Here's the kicker. Here's the real good one. Here's my favorite. We recognize that the vast majority of gun owners use them safely and in accordance with the law. Very true. I agree with that. But other than using firearms for sport shooting and for hunting, there's no reason anyone in Canada should need guns in their everyday lives. So other than these legitimate things, there's no reason you should have it. None. How dare you? Now remember this it's about sport shooting, all right? Let's go back up a little bit, all right? Right to here. Some people will be exempt, including elite sport shooters. But the elite sport shooters, there's no reason for them to have it. So why should they have an exemption, right? If it's a national emergency, if it's a public safety issue, then why are there exemptions? Especially when they're saying that there are legitimate uses, such as sport shooting and hunting. Why is that not reason enough? Especially when we already have a extensive system in place to make it so not everybody can have a firearm. So Mendocino confirmed that the government would be proceeding with a mandatory buyback program for over 1,500 assault-style weapons the government banned 2 years ago. Remember, this was a thing where they said this is happening immediately because it is a public safety issue, a national threat. And they couldn't tell us why. They said it had to be done right now. So when they say it was done over 2 years ago, how upfront was that threat? How much of an issue was that really when they said, hey, you can't use this anymore, you can't have these? But then they dragged their feet for 2 years. Is it a little bit disingenuous, maybe? Maybe even malicious? So the assault-style weapons, including the AR-15. Yep, the AR-15 and many variants were on that list. I remember that. So details will have to wait for consultations with industry on compensation and likely won't be available until this summer. So they're still dragging their feet. It's going to be hard, but we're going to get it done. Yeah, okay. That's what they said last time. It's going to cost a whole lot of money. Remember, you're fronting that money. They're just using it. So they're aiming to ban an even larger number of assault-style weapons through an amendment to the bill. So what's going to be on there? There's the Firearms Act has already gotten rid of a unbelievably large number of firearms. They're going to get rid of all semi-automatics entirely. This legislation comes after a number of mass shootings in the United States, including a recent shooting in an elementary school. So, they're talking about things that happened in another country. it's a horrible thing, and you have to remember that we are completely different demographics. Our government functions very differently. Our laws are very different. And they're saying that, because of this thing that happened in a different country, it's on our border, but it's in a different country. We really want to kick it into overdrive on keeping Canadians safe from things that happen in the United States. So prior to presentation of the bill, the House unanimously voted in favor of a motion expressing its horror at the Uvalde shooting and condolences to the family, friends, and communities of victims. So it almost feels like you're trying to present a bias in everybody, where you're showing them a horrific thing, and then you say, hey, so now that you're feeling really down, and you have like a knot in your gut from talking about this awful thing that happened. Here's a law regarding our stuff. So, keep that past thing in mind when you're thinking about this. And today's announcement. Oh yeah, so here we're talking about the opposition, right? Conservative party saying it fails to focus on the root cause of gun violence in in our cities, and that's the illegal guns smuggled into Canada by criminal gangs. 100%. Wow, it hits the nail on the head. That's something the Liberal government hasn't tackled because it's something that's such an ugly, horrible thing to try to deal with, because it's a never-ending battle. But you go after the guys who are super easy to target. It's going to be a much easier thing to do to say, hey, we're doing something. It might not have worked, but we're trying. He said 7 years to fix a serious issue, and yet he continues to chase headlines and bury his head in the sand. Sure, I agree completely. And then we go through another conservative. So you can't go through a Canadian firearms thing without talking about Polytechnique massacre. You cannot go one step without mentioning that. Wendy Cuckier, she has a whole bunch of hot takes that I've seen in the past. It strengthens the screening process for gun licenses with a particular focus on risk factors associated with domestic violence, but also suicide and hate crimes. The game changer is the proposed national ban on the sale and importation of handguns, which will stem the flow of these guns. So they're saying earlier that they recognize that the firearm owners, the legal ones, okay, let's go up. Where did he say that? We recognize that the vast majority of gun owners use them safely and in accordance with the law. And down here, we say legal handguns are a significant source of handguns used in crime and are the guns most often used in mass shootings. So I see a bit of a contradiction. If it's the vast majority of us PAL owners, PAL holders, we don't own the license, but the vast majority of us PAL holders are not the problem, but apparently also the significant source. So I'd like to see a true, honest, upfront, transparent view from the Liberal government on it. They're saying it's a win for Montreal, taking steps towards the ban of handguns in our territory and out of reach of young people. So what country is Montreal super close to? I think it's the United States. So I don't know. So you think this federal law that they're imposing will stop handguns coming from the States and going, a few clicks north? Probably not. But as always, I agree with CCFR's look on it, saying that it's targeting the entirely wrong demographic. And you're right, 100%. Oh, getting tired of it.